They salvaged ghost data from the back end of a Google Nest hub and dropped the doorbell video. And the moment I spotted that silhouette on the porch, my theory fell apart because of the height. Federal agents are officially listing this suspect as standing somewhere between 5'9" and 5'10". Tommaso is significantly bigger than that description since he stands well over 6 feet tall. Inside a courtroom, that height gap is what we call handing the defense reasonable doubt on a silver platter. I sat right here and claimed Tommaso was the masked man, but forensic facts say he literally cannot be. Yet here is the thing. Just because he wasn't on the porch doesn't mean he isn't involved. What if we have been viewing this as a one-man show when it is actually a partnership? Suppose Tommaso is the architect who mapped the entry and set the schedule, while someone else shorter, scrapier, and with a heavy rap sheet was the operative. We are about to drill further into this private circle than any other outlet has dared to go. We are tracking a 19-year brotherhood, a trail of serious felonies, and cryptic ransom emails that point to a boss who remains in the dark. If you want the scoop, the second those genetic genealogy results come back from the Florida lab, go ahead and smash that subscribe button right now. We are hunting down the truth frame by frame, but to get the operative, we first have to understand the architect's role. On the evening of Saturday, January 31st, 2026, Nancy Guthrie was at a family game night over at Annie Guthrie and Tommaso Cion's place. Around 9:50 p.m., Tommaso drives Nancy back to her isolated house out in the Catalina foothills. He walks her to the entryway, ensures she gets inside, and then nothing. The silence that follows is terrifying. Nancy Guthrie spends 14 hours alone in that house, and nobody realizes anything is wrong until she skips her virtual church service the next morning. When the family gets inside, they discover her smartphone, hearing aids, and vital heart pills still sitting right there. Nancy is gone, however, and there is blood spattered on the front deck, which DNA tests later confirmed belonged to her. For weeks, the web blamed Tommaso due to that 9:50 p.m. drop-off, but the architect operative theory suggests a way more complex plan. If you are the architect, you do not do the dirty work yourself. You supply the blueprints because you know exactly where the cameras are located. You know that Nancy's doorbell cam lacked a cloud subscription, which explains why there is no saved footage of the actual struggle. You need a partner you trust with your life to be the muscle, someone who has been in the trenches with you for decades. This is precisely where my research took a turn I never expected. I started digging into Tommaso Cion's past in Tucson and kept hitting one name, Dominic Aaron Lee Evans. And these two didn't just meet yesterday. They go back to April 2007. They linked up through some Craigslist posts and ads in the Tucson Weekly before forming a band called Early Black. Tommaso was on bass and vocals while Dominic played drums, and they hit the local clubs plus the Rialto. They even cut an album in 2010 titled Life, Love, Love, Murder, and I want you to sit with that title for a second. Life, Love, Love, Murder. In their track Straight Line, the lyrics describe a mission to change everything that you are. It also says, I won't forget what you said, that I would die at your hands instead. Look, I am not saying lyrics make you a kidnapper, but it establishes a 19-year ride-or-die bond between these two guys. They have been in the same tight circle since before Tommaso even married into the Guthrie family in 2006, and Dominic Evans is a 48-year-old school teacher. To his fifth graders, he is a mentor. But to the Pima County court system, he is a man with a very different profile. If you were hunting for an operative to pull off a nighttime home invasion, you would want someone with a specific skill set. You would want someone comfortable with breaking and entering and someone who has used force in the past. When I pulled Dominic Evans's criminal history, my jaw hit the floor because we aren't talking about a single DUI, although he has one of those too. We are talking about prior felony counts for burglary, robbery, theft, and embezzlement. Burglary is the specific crime of entering a building to commit a felony, while robbery involves taking property through force or fear. Dominic Evans fits the physical profile of the man on the porch perfectly since he is 5'9" to 5'10". He has an athletic drummer's build, sports a dark mustache and goatee, and then there is the tattoo. Dominic Evans is the drummer and a founding member of the Tucson-based band Early Black, which formed in April 2007. He started the group alongside bassist and vocalist Tommaso Cioni after meeting guitarist Walter Ion Calves Jr. Connected via a classified ad on Craigslist. Their first record, Life, Love, Love, Murder, was cut at Loveland Studios back in 2010 and snagged good reviews in the Tucson Weekly. By February 2026, Dominic Evans and his bandmate Tommaso Cioni are headline news because Cioni is a person of interest in the Nancy Guthrie abduction. Retired FBI agent Jim Clementi flagged a mark on the suspect's right wrist in the doorbell video as a key identifier. If you check out old footage of Early Black, Evans has a tattoo in that exact spot, and the match is chilling. During questioning, Dominic claimed he was at home with family, insisting he only met Nancy Guthrie once at an Easter egg hunt in 2011. Sheriff Nanos, however, is being extremely precise with his language. While he cleared the Guthrie kids and their spouses, he stressed that the wider circle isn't off the hook, and we have to consider the logistics. A job like this needs a cold site, a hidden location to stash the victim where nobody will stumble upon them. Dominic Evans has deep connections to Rio Rico, Arizona. If you aren't local, Rio Rico is about an hour south of Tucson on the Mexican border. It is rough terrain, full of saguaro where a car could stay hidden for weeks. Early in the investigation, police actually detained a guy during a traffic stop south of town and searched a property in Rio Rico. Was that a tip about Dominic? The FBI is staying tight-lipped, but we know for a fact that on February 13th, the same day they pulled the camera mount from Nancy's door, SWAT raided a house 2 miles away. They arrested Luke Daly and his 77-year-old mother. Daly is an ex-con with a rap sheet for drugs and weapons, but they released him after hours of interrogation. He told a local crime outlet the police were chasing internet rumors just because people thought he looked like the masked man. That tells me the Bureau is desperate to find a physical match, and if Daly is a dead end, the focus snaps back to the man with a 19-year link to the last person seen with her, plus the digital trail and bizarre ransom notes. We had the $6 million Bitcoin demand sent to the TV station and the TMZ emails, but one message really jumps out. It hit TMZ on February 13th from a sender claiming to be a middleman who knows the kidnapper's identity. They wrote a very specific line about the manhunt for the main individual who holds all the answers. Get ready to go international, and here is why. Tommaso Cioni was born in San Giovanni Valdo, Italy. Since he and Annie travel there often, could that reference to a main individual point to an architect with global ties? Even sketchier, a Bitcoin wallet tied to the ransom note moved funds on February 10th. Someone transferred about $152 in Bitcoin. It is a tiny sum, likely a test to see if the cyber squad was watching the wallet. So where does that leave us? We are stuck on DNA. The intruder left a mixed, low-level genetic sample inside the house. It is a forensic nightmare because the scene was contaminated by reporters, landscapers, and pizza guys. So the sample is degraded. Sheriff Nanos made the call to bypass the FBI lab and send the sample to a private facility in Florida for investigative genetic genealogy. They are comparing those 500,000 markers against public databases, and meanwhile, the FBI moved their command post to Phoenix on March 1st. The physical search is over and the rescue phase is done, so now it is purely about analysis. The $1.1 million, that reward is still on the table. Savannah Guthrie admits her mom might be lost, but the science team isn't giving up. The Florida lab is currently untangling that genetic mess, and when a name comes back, will it be Dominic Evans? Will it lead to the architect in the foothills, or are we looking for a stranger we haven't met yet? Drop a comment and tell me, do you believe this theory, or do you think the internet detectives are reaching? I read every single reply, and I want to know where you stand on the Dominic Evans connection. Look, Ryan, I have a high-level source. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I have friends in the FBI. I have contacts in Border Patrol and local law enforcement all over the country. The source giving me this info is top tier and extremely connected to this case. They told me those were Nest cameras, specifically that brand, and that multiple units were smashed, not just the front one. They also said the back door to Nancy's home was left wide open and there was blood inside the house. I'm told Annie Guthrie's car was towed and is currently in evidence. Annie's husband is now, and let me choose my words carefully, is now considered to, let me rephrase that. Annie Guthrie's husband, Nancy's son-in-law, is, and I quote, potentially the prime suspect at this time. He could be their main guy right now, explaining why they are keeping his name out of the headline. I realize the sheriff is acting tight-lipped and refuses to drop a name, but that implies nothing about what is happening behind the scenes among the various agencies tackling this case, that he is not the exact individual they are zeroing in on. If this detailed breakdown gave you some clarity, go ahead and pass it along to others. Getting more folks to scrutinize the timeline and descriptions brings us one step closer to justice for the Guthrie family. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because the instant the Florida lab releases that report, I will be ready to analyze it. I am signing off for now, but I will catch you all in the very next upload. I am kicking off today's deep dive by focusing on Tommaso Cioni, the son-in-law and the very last person confirmed to see 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie alive. I honestly believed I had cracked this case because he was present at the home at 9:50 a.m. on January 31st. He had the proximity, he had the entry access, and he fit the timeline. Then the FBI pulled a move that flipped the entire script. That footage shows a masked figure, 5'9" to 5'10", medium build, armed, carrying a large hiking pack, wearing gloves sealed to the sleeve. A matching glove was found 2 miles from the home. The DNA profile on that glove matches traces found inside the house. No hit in the National Criminal Database yet. Every family member and close relative has been cleared by investigators. The search has widened beyond the immediate circle. Online speculation has pointed fingers at multiple people. At least one man unconnected to the case was detained, searched, and released after being wrongly identified by internet crowds. That is the cost of public speculation without evidence. Real people are detained, families are frightened, and investigators are pulled toward dead ends. The ransom letters sent to news outlets contained specific details about the crime scene, but provided no way for the family to respond and no proof Nancy was alive. Experts have noted this is not how legitimate ransom demands typically work. A real negotiation requires a reply channel. The absence of one tells its own story. A small Bitcoin transfer was detected from a wallet tied to one ransom note, likely a test to check whether investigators were monitoring. Digital forensics can trace even those small movements. The FBI has moved its command post from Tucson to Phoenix, not because the case is going cold, but because it has shifted from a rescue operation to a long-term analytical investigation. Asterisk, asterisk. In a complex case like this, the work that solves it often happens quietly in laboratories, databases, and records rooms, long after the news cameras have moved on. Asterisk, asterisk. Forensic genealogy has solved cold cases that sat unsolved for decades. The Golden State Killer was identified through this same method after 40 years. If you have any information about Nancy Guthrie, a vehicle, a person, a detail that seemed odd in Tucson's Catalina foothills around February 1st, 2026, call 1-800-CALL-FBI. The reward has reached $1 million. Tips are kept confidential. Even a small detail that feels insignificant to you could complete the picture. It is important to say clearly, no one named in online theories has been charged with any crime in this case. Speculation is not evidence, and naming suspects publicly can harm innocent people. The presumption of innocence is not a technicality. It is the foundation of a justice system that protects all of us, including the next person who gets wrongly accused by a viral post. Nancy's children, Savannah, Cameron, and Annie, have not stopped searching, pleading, or hoping. They have asked that anyone with information come forward. Science is still working. DNA does not expire. Digital records do not vanish. The case is open, and the answers are still being pursued. Nancy Guthrie is not a headline or a theory. She is a mother and grandmother who loved Tucson, her garden, and her family above everything. She deserves the truth found carefully, correctly, and with evidence. If you know something, say something. 1-8. Nancy Guthrie has been missing since February 1st, 2026. She is 84 years old with a pacemaker and daily heart medication. No one has been charged, no arrest has been made. The investigation is still active. Forensic genealogy is being run on DNA recovered from the scene. A Florida laboratory is analyzing over 500,000 genetic markers. The FBI recovered partial doorbell footage salvaged from the device's internal cache memory. Only possible because investigators pushed hard for every fragment of data.